Hey, how the devil are you? Okay, so I recently bought some Cambridge Audio SX60 speakers. Love the speakers, really pleased with them. If you want to see the review on that, I'll put a link here and in the description box below. Anyway, great, got the speakers. I've got nowhere to put them. I've got limited space where I can put my audio stuff. I've got to have wife acceptance, so she needs to accept where I'm putting them, what I'm doing with them. So, which is fair enough. It's her house too, as well as mine. And so yeah, I got nowhere to put them. So I thought I'll buy some speaker stands. So went online. I want some decent speaker stands. You need to have decent ones to make sure they're the right weight. They absorb the vibration well. And if you get the cheaper ones, they're a bit wobbly and a bit rubbish. Anyway, looked at the price of them, and they're really expensive. I was like, you're having a laugh, ain't you? What? They're really expensive. And I was a bit gutted because I was like, I want to have speaker stands, but I don't want to fork out £100+ for a set of speaker stands, which if you want good ones, that's where you've got to look to be spending. So I thought I'll buy second hand. So I go on eBay, I go on Marketplace on Facebook, and even the second hand ones, the good ones are looking at £50+. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I seen an advert for some speaker stands, and they're handmade by a blacksmith. And I went, that sounds interesting. I'll go and have a look at them. So I went up to have a look at them, and they're really great. They're really well made. They're fantastic speaker stands. They got spikes on the bottom and adjustable, and also they weigh 13 kilograms each. Hang on. Whoa, 13 kilograms each. So they're quite a weight. Okay. So you won't need to fill these with sand. Just no need. They're heavy enough as they are. You won't get much vibration going through them. And like I said, they got spikes on the bottom as well, adjustable. So they're really well made speaker stands. So the only problem is that they do have, I'll just put that down there. They do have a few dings and a few scrapes, and they've obviously been used quite a bit. So they're looking a bit tatty. So I thought, I'll clean them up and I'll respray them. So what you obviously need the spray paint. Make sure it's a good metal spray paint. You need some steel wool or wire wool or whatever you want to call it, okay? And you need the fine one. Make sure it's fine. You don't want to leave score marks in it. And the reason you use a bit of a fine steel wool is to just give it a surface for the paint to stick to, and also clean any rubbish off it. You also need a mask and some glasses. You don't want to be breathing in any of that spray. And finally, you need some methylated spirit. And the methylated spirit is to finally give it a good clean over, make sure there's no grease or dust left on it, so the paint sticks nice and tidy to it. Make sure that you're doing this in a well ventilated area. I'm going to be doing it outside. You don't want to be doing it inside ideally, okay? Right, so, but before we commence, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Okay, and if you get to the end of the video and you think, he's alright, that wasn't too bad, give this video a like. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get on with it. Right, I've got them outside. I'm going to just do them with a steel wool, no, wire wool, whatever you want to call it. Just give them a quick rub down. But even though I'm outside, I'm still going to wear a mask and even put my safety glasses on, because you don't want to be breathing in any of that paint dust that's coming off it, or getting any in your eyes. So important to wear a mask and some safety glasses. So I'll just get on with just sanding these down lightly, okay? Okay, that's all done now. All sanded down with the steel wool. Now what I'm going to do now is just brush off the excess dust and then clean it with methylated spirit. Okay, so now I've brushed off most of the dust. I'm just going to clean it. Now, I was going to use methylated spirits. It was going to be ready for collection today, but there's been a delay in the order, so I can't get it today. But luckily I've got some white spirit, which will pretty much do the same thing. I prefer using methylated spirits. It's not a lot of difference, but I think methylated spirits, it kind of evaporates faster, and I just prefer using it. But white spirit, it's fine. Okay, I'm just going to clean them off with white spirit now. Okay, so I've let it all dry off. Make sure there's no residue left over. It dries pretty fast, so it only takes about 5-10 minutes. And now I'm going to spray it. Now, when you're doing the spray can, make sure you shake it first, really get that ball going, mix the paint up. And when you're spraying, don't spray all in one spot. Keep the can moving. Keep the can moving. Light sprays, just dust it over. And then what you do then is, once you've done a dusting, you just leave it for 10-15 minutes, come back and then do another coat, and do about 3 coats or maybe 4 coats even until you feel you've got a good finish. Really speaking, I should, because it's already painted, I should do a test spot just to see if it reacts with the paint, but hopefully it should be okay, fingers crossed. I haven't got time to do that. Anyway, so I'm going to get my spraying now. And just make sure you keep the can moving, okay? Don't put it on too thick, otherwise you're going to get runs. Okay, I'll do the other one, and then I'm going to leave them then for about 15 minutes, come back and do another coat. Okay, I'm just going to come out and do the second coat now. I've been standing there for about 20 minutes or so. I'll just do the second coat. It seems quite dry now. Now, one thing I will say, I've had to take off the goggles, the glasses, because they were steaming up as I was breathing and I couldn't see what I was doing. So I wouldn't recommend doing it without glasses, so maybe goggles would be best, but I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to have to continue. One thing I will say is give the can a wipe now and again and watch out for drips, because it does build up and drip off. And also, just to let you know, it doesn't require an undercoat, so this is why I haven't put any undercoat on it. And it seems to be covering quite well. Okay, I've done 2 coats, going to do my final coat and we're all done. Beautiful! It's looking okay actually. There's a few imperfections and that's in the metal, so there's nothing I can do about that. But it is looking a lot better. And luckily the sun's come out, so hopefully if it stays out like this I can put them in the sun and they'll dry a little bit faster for me. Right, let's get on with the last coat. Yes! Okay, that's the final coat on. Now what I would do normally, if you've got some left in the can, I would recommend you turn it upside down, spray it against a bit of cardboard until it goes clear and there's no paint coming out, and that'll keep your nozzle dry if you want to use it again. But I've actually used all my paint up and luckily I had just about enough. So, good job. Right, I'm now going to put them in the sun and dry them out. So that's it, they're all done. I think they look pretty good. There were a few spots where I could have done with another spray, but unfortunately I ran out of aerosol. So I'll have to maybe buy another can and finish that off. Just on the pillars there was just needed another coat, but it is what it is. It still looks a lot better than when I bought it. I got to put them on a tiled floor, and because of that, these spikes, the spikes are a great idea. Obviously it isolates the sound much better and stops vibration going through, but they're scratching the tile. I didn't want to spend a massive amount on isolation pads, so I bought these furniture pads here. See if I can show that to you. And they're about 5 mil thick, and you've got some foam, high density foam here and rubber, and they just stick on the bottom, and they make great isolation pads. So I put them on the bottom instead because I'm using it on tile floor. You might get the same, you've got a hardwood floor as well. The spikes, if the kids or whatever move them around, they're going to scratch the floor. I didn't want that to happen. So these make a good compromise, and I think they look really good with the speakers on. Like I said, I haven't got much room to work with, but it's the best I've got, and it does really set it off a lot better. I'm probably going to get much better sound out of them than being sat on the floor or sat on the top of the shelf unit. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.